Beyond the Hype, a fashion lifestyle tech podcast. Presented by Stephanie Williams and Greg Lewis.
Ready to dive into the world of blockchain? It's everywhere you look these days. But trying to figure out how it works can feel like you're trying to learn a whole new language. We're going to break down those barriers today. No tech headaches, I promise.
It's an exciting space to be in, that's for sure. Blockchain really has the potential to change, well, pretty much everything about how we do things online. And it all starts with understanding a few basic concepts.
Basic concepts, I like that. So imagine a digital fortress protecting your data, right? Every single transaction, every piece of information is like adding another brick to that fortress.
Exactly. And what makes this fortress so strong is that it's not just in one place, it's decentralized, spread out across a whole network of computers all over the world. It's like, have you ever used Google Docs?
Of course, who hasn't?
Think of it like a Google Doc that everyone has a copy of, but instead of living on Google servers, it's everywhere at once.
Okay, so no single point of failure.
Yeah.
One computer crashes, no big deal. The information is still safe because everyone else has a copy. Pretty smart, but how do you make sure everyone's copy of this ledger stays in sync?
That's where consensus mechanisms come in. They're like the rule book, making sure everyone's on the same page. One of the most common ones is proof of work, or POW for short. It's kind of like, imagine a massive computational puzzle that everyone's trying to solve.
Okay, hold on. I'm trying to wrap my head around this. So there's this huge digital puzzle, and everyone's racing to solve it. Is that what you're saying?
Precisely. We call the folks who contribute their computing power to the network miners. They're all competing to solve this puzzle, and whoever cracks the code first gets to add the next block of transactions to the chain. And then everyone else double checks their work.
So it's a never-ending game of digital Sudoku, and the winner gets to update the ledger. Makes sense, but I've heard this proof of work thing. It can be a bit of an energy hog.
That's a valid concern for sure. It's one of the reasons why a lot of blockchains are shifting towards something called proof of stake, or POS. Instead of just brute computing power, POS chooses validators based on how much of the cryptocurrency they're willing to stake, like a security deposit.
So the more you stake, the more likely you are to get chosen to add the next block.
Yeah.
But couldn't someone just game the system if they have a ton staked?
That's the ingenious part. If they try to validate a dodgy transaction, they risk losing everything they staked. It's a powerful incentive to play by the rules.
Makes sense. So we've got proof of work, which is like the really secure but energy-hungry option. And then there's proof of stake, more efficient, but relies on these economic incentives. Are there any downsides to proof of stake, though?
That's a great question, and it highlights the challenges of designing these systems. While POS is definitely easier on the energy consumption, it could lead to concerns about centralization. If just a handful of players control a huge chunk of the stake, they could potentially have too much sway over the network.
So it's a delicate balancing act. Security, efficiency, and making sure no one entity has too much control.
Yeah.
It's almost like designing a government for this digital world. Every system has its strengths and weaknesses.
Exactly. And just like in the real world, there's no magic bullet, no one solution that fits every situation. The best approach really depends on what that specific blockchain network is trying to achieve. What its goals are, what its priorities are, all of that factors in.
So we've got the foundation laid, the consensus mechanisms that keep things ticking. But it's not like every blockchain is cut from the same cloth, is it?
Not at all. Not at all. Think of it like, well, cities, right? Each one has its own vibe, its own purpose. Blockchains are kind of the same way.
I like where you're going with this, the city analogy. So walk me through it. What kind of blockchain cities are out there?
Okay, so let's start with the one everyone knows, the public blockchains. These are like, your bustling metropolises, open to anyone and everyone. Bitcoin, Ethereum, those are the big dogs in this category. Anyone can join the party, make transactions, even see the entire history of transactions.
Total transparency.
Exactly, it's all out in the open.
Like a blockchain Wild West, but with really good accounting.
Now you're getting it. But then you've got the other end of the spectrum, the private blockchains. Think of these as your exclusive gated communities. Access is strictly controlled, usually by a single organization.
So if a company wants to, say, manage its supply chain more efficiently, or maybe they need to share sensitive data internally, but they want that extra layer of security, a private blockchain would make sense in that scenario.
Exactly. You get all the benefits of blockchain, the immutability, the transparency, but it's all happening behind closed doors.
Okay, makes sense. What about companies that want to team up, though? Is there a blockchain city for that?
There is. there is. That's where consortium blockchains come in. Imagine a bunch of companies in the same industry. They get together and say, hey, let's create a blockchain just for us.
Like an exclusive club.
Exactly. They can set the rules, share information securely, and build trust within their little ecosystem.
So it's like a blockchain with a board of directors. Each company gets a say.
You got it. And then, of course, you've got your hybrids, blending elements of both public and private blockchains.
So like a city that has both a bustling downtown and then these quiet, secluded neighborhoods.
Perfect analogy. Hybrids give you that flexibility. You can keep some data public while keeping other stuff strictly under wraps.
This is fascinating stuff. It's amazing how these different types of blockchains cater to such a wide range of needs. But why is it so important for us to understand these distinctions?
Because it helps you cut through the noise. There's a lot of hype around blockchain, right? But when you understand the different types, when you know what problem each one is trying to solve, it's like having a cheat sheet. You can actually evaluate blockchain projects more effectively and see if they have real potential.
All right, we've gotten the blueprints, we've seen the neighborhoods, now ready to meet the blockchain all-stars. The ones who are really shaking things up.
Absolutely. These are the pioneers, the innovators, the ones pushing the limits of what this technology can really do.
And we got to start with the one that kicked it all off, the OG. Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Launched back in 2009, it was a radical idea. A digital currency, completely decentralized, no government or bank involved, like creating money out of thin air, but with a twist. Everyone can see how it's made, but no one can counterfeit it.
So instead of relying on a central bank, you've got this distributed ledger, this blockchain, keeping track of every Bitcoin ever created, every time it changes hands, all out in the open.
That's it. And because it uses that proof of work system we talked about, the energy intensive one, it's incredibly secure. People even call it digital gold sometimes, because just like gold, there's a finite amount of it. Only 21 million Bitcoins will ever exist.
That scarcity definitely adds to the mystique, but Bitcoin was just the first domino to fall. Then came Ethereum, and things got really interesting. Ethereum, they launched in 2015. And they didn't just stop at digital currency, they introduced the world to smart contracts. Imagine agreements written in code, contracts that live on the blockchain, and they automatically enforce themselves.
So instead of lawyers and contracts, you just program the terms right into the blockchain itself.
Exactly. Think about it. Let's say you're selling something online. A smart contract could hold the buyer's money, and then, boom, release it to you automatically once the product is delivered.
No need to trust a third party.
Exactly. It's all built in.
That's wild, like having a digital escrow agent right there in the system. But it goes even further, right?
Yeah.
Smart contracts opened up this whole world of decentralized applications, dApps.
You got it. dApps are like regular apps, but instead of being controlled by one company, like your Googles or Apples of the world, they run on decentralized networks like Ethereum.
So they're more resistant to censorship, outages, all that fun stuff.
You're catching on quick.
All right, so we've got Bitcoin, the original digital gold, and Ethereum, the platform for all this innovation. But that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? There's a whole universe of blockchains out there.
Absolutely. It's a diverse ecosystem, each one with its own unique flavor. Take Binance Smart Chain, BSE for short. It's all about speed and low costs. It's attracting a lot of developers who want to build things fast and cheap.
Then you've got Ripple. They're tackling a different beast altogether. Cross-border payments.
Right.
Making international transactions faster and more affordable.
And Cardano, they're taking a very academic approach, very research-focused, all about building a secure and sustainable platform.
And speaking of sustainability, Solana's the speed demon of the bunch, known for its high-performance capabilities.
Can't forget Polkadot, aiming to be the ultimate blockchain connector. Imagine a network of specialized blockchains all talking to each other seamlessly.
We've also got Avalanche, giving developers the tools to create their own custom blockchains.
And then there's Tezos, designed to change and adapt over time. Stakeholders can actually vote on upgrades to the system.
And of course, there's Cosmos. They want to be the internet of blockchains.
Connecting different blockchains, just like websites are connected on the internet.
It's incredible to see how much variety there is.
Yeah.
This is just a glimpse into the blockchain world, and it already feels massive.
It is massive. And the exciting part is we're still just getting started.
From finance to technology, supply chains to healthcare, it's transforming everything.
Who knows what the future holds? But one thing's for sure, This technology is here to stay.
And on that note, that wraps up our deep dive into the world of blockchain. We covered the basics, explored the different types, even met some of the rock stars of the blockchain world. Hopefully you're feeling inspired, ready to keep exploring this incredible new frontier. Until next time, keep those brains buzzing.
Beyond the Hype, a fashion lifestyle tech podcast.